Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host, as always, Ryan, and today we are going to be looking at Bray Wyatt and his WrestleMania matches. So, obviously, with Bray's documentary coming out yesterday in the US, and everyone's again talking about how great he was and how much of an impact he had, especially on WWE and a lot of fans' lives as well through his creative genius. I seen I was going through on YouTube, as you do, and I seen a lot of people are doing like their reaction videos. So they're talking about how they felt watching the documentary and stuff like that. And I thought it's quite good in a way, to see what he meant to fans. But at the same time, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. That's one of the main reasons why I started, doing my own YouTube channel, as I wanted to be as slightly different to what other people are doing. So I thought, rather than doing a video based on, you know, how the documentary made me feel or the best parts or whatever, I thought, seeing to it's WrestleMania week, let's tie the two together. So I thought, let's have a little look through, see what matches Bray Wyatt had at WrestleMania. So it turns out he's actually had 5 in total. So I thought, why not just do what we normally do? So it's basically top 5, but there is only 5. So top 5 Bray Wyatt's WrestleMania matches. As always, we will rank them down from the worst to best. So obviously the best being number 1. So we'll go down and have a look at each of the matches and why they rank where they rank. So that's what we're going to do. So we will start at number 5. And I've gone for The Fiend versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37. So this was actually his last WrestleMania match. And as great as Bray was, and as great as I was a big fan of the Fiend character. I loved it. The Fiend in actual matches never amounted to what we knew Bray Wyatt could do, which was unfortunate. At the beginning he was booked like an absolute machine, like unstoppable force, and then he like sort of tilted towards having like 4 to 5 minute matches, and it just never paid off. Like, the character was brilliant visually, it was scary, which is what it was supposed to be, but in ring wise, match wise, it never really paid off what we knew that Bray Wyatt could in fact do in the ring. So in the build up to this match at WrestleMania 37, it was a bit weird, strange, and pretty much over the top, to be honest, with obviously the Fiend being set on fire, returning as the Burnt Fiend, which I myself hated. I didn't like the Burnt Fiend at all. We had fireballs, we had black gunk vomit, and we also had mind control at one point. So all the wacky and weirdness there. But fans were hoping that with this match against Randy Orton, that we were then going to get the match that we wanted a couple of years previous, when they faced originally. But unfortunately, this ends up being a lot worse than the first one. The Fiend's entrance in this was pretty good, to be fair. Like I say, he was the Burnt Fiend leading up to this. And this was during pandemic, so we didn't have fans. They were able to go a little bit weirder. They had the big massive, the big massive Jack in the Box, and obviously the Fiend appeared out of that as full Fiend again. So he was back like a revived Fiend, if you like, and jumps onto Randy Orton. The match itself, though, wasn't great. Like I say, it was around 5-6 minutes. So around the 5th minute ish, Alexa Bliss appears from the Jack in the Box, causing a distraction to the Fiend, and Orton hits a single RKO for victory. Like I say, we've seen it before where he'd been hit with multiple finishes multiple times and never went down, but he was hit with one RKO, after a distraction where he's supposed to be like this demon entity type thing, and he's distracted by Alexa with black gunk popping out of a box enough to be hit with an RKO and pinned. Yeah, it wasn't great. The match wasn't great. The ending definitely wasn't great. And the result, like, a lot of fans really thought Bray Wyatt was going to win the original WrestleMania match, and he didn't. So then when he then went and faced him years later as a more accomplished character with The Fiend, we were then expecting, right, well, this is a chance to right the wrong. Didn't. So, yeah, it went fantastic. I'd say, once again, Orton coming out on top wasn't great. Alexa, for some unknown reason, basically turned on The Fiend. You know, they'd been doing some work for a while together, and then she appeared, obviously causing a distraction. So why was that a thing? That just seemed a bit thrown in there as well. And obviously it didn't get any better from there, as not long after this, Bray was actually released from the company. So it sort of makes me feel like that they knew they were going to release him, so the idea was to quickly sort of push through the end of the story, which they were going to originally tell. You know, this was building for a good while, so I feel like putting Bray over when you're going to release him, probably not the thing to do. They needed some sort of ending to the Alexa Bliss Fiend storyline, even though it didn't really make much sense. But so that's the only outcome and the reason why I can see what happened at that during that match, or at the end of that match actually happened. But like I say, that the whole match is about 5-6 minutes, which is really disappointing, because that's one thing that we do know is, like, obviously his character works so good, but man, Bray could go in the ring. Bray could have really good matches, but he just wasn't given the opportunities at WrestleMania. So that was number 5. In at number 4 is Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 33. The build up to this match was done really well, a lot better than the one that they had years later. The pay-per-view beforehand, Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship in an Elimination Chamber, which seemed would lead to big things for the cult leader. He was massively popular at the time, with many expected him to beat Orton at Mania and then push on and establish himself as a main event star. At this time, he was massively popular, so a lot of people were expecting, especially with him only winning the pay-per-view beforehand, that he was going to go and beat Orton and, like say, push on to become a main event star. During the mat became a giant projector with videos of worms, cockroaches and such as a way to try and scare Orton, but it came off more goofy than scary. It wasn't great, and the ref repeatedly jumping out the ring every time that the projection come on the mat. It just looked a bit silly and goofy, really, than scary, which is obviously what they were going for. This is sadly the case of probably more of a good idea, but poor execution in the end, and it came off looking very silly. And in the end, the Viper picks up the victory and the WWE Championship, putting a quick end to Wyatt's reign. So, all in all, pretty disappointing, but still a lot better than the match that they had then, how many years later. So, it just shows back-to-back matches with Randy Orton. It's funny to say, like, Bray had 5 matches at WrestleMania, and it was 2 against Orton, 2 against Cena, and it's like, so you've tried, so it's like you failed the first time, and you've tried again. That's sort of what it seems like, but I don't know so much. In at number 3 is The Fiend / Bray Wyatt versus John Cena in the Firefly Funhouse match of WrestleMania 36. Now, like I said before, due to the global pandemic, WWE had no fans in attendance for this year's WrestleMania. This was the first one with no fans. WWE decided to go all in on the unusual route for them and let their creative side flow for this match. This wasn't really, to be strictly speaking, wasn't really much of a match, but more of a look inside the mind of John Cena, his past points in his career, like what he deemed to be like his failures, like his debut, and some like what if style moments with obviously NWO Cena. As most cinematic style matches, this match definitely divided fans, whether they thought it was good or whether they thought it was bad. This was Wyatt with his full creative side on show, but in terms of actual match, there was very, very minimal contact between the two, with the Fiend appearing right at the end to score the victory as Bray Wyatt himself counted the 3. This is actually classed as a victory. Obviously, it's classed as a match, and therefore is actually the only victory that Bray Wyatt had at WrestleMania, which is nuts to think. He only won one match, and it was that cinematic Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena. So that is number 3. So number 2, we have Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. Now, I have said 1,000 times, I will say it 1,000 more, Bray Wyatt should have been the one to defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania to end the streak and not Brock Lesnar. I fully believed that then, I still fully believe it now. It would have given them the rub and would have been sort of like the passing of the torch between like one dark character to the other. Actually, speaking of darkness, one issue we did have with this match, it would have been better if it was later in the night and it had been darker. This match between two dark entities, if you like, with two like dark entrances as well. They both have the dark entrances. But it was in broad daylight when they come out, and I feel like it sounds mad, but something as simple as that did actually take away from this match for me. This would take his first match, like say, after losing the streak, meaning it was more sort of like vulnerable version of the dead man than what we were used to. But obviously that changed during the match as he found his confidence and found his footing against Bray. By far one of the better matches of WrestleMania for Bray Wyatt, and also one of Taker's better in the latter stages of his career. We had some not great matches. Obviously the Brock match he got injured in quite early, so that was poor. Again, the Roman match wasn't great. The Saudi Arabia tag match was awful. So towards the end of his career, he didn't have some great matches. The Goldberg one as well. So this Bray Wyatt one definitely stands out as one of the better ones of his last 5-6 years maybe. Some great visuals in this match, especially you've got to mention Bray doing the spider walk that he does where he's upside down, and as he's walking towards Undertaker, as he was dubbed himself the new face of fear, which again runs in with the whole he should have been beating the Undertaker, and then Taker sitting up and looking directly at him, which then shocks Bray and scares Bray in a way. It's sort of like, oh, hang on a minute. You know what I mean? Which I thought was really, really cool, because Bray was always the one to strike the fear in people, especially at this time. It was like cult leader Bray, wasn't it? In the end, though, it was the dead man who picked up the victory. So that was his second WrestleMania, and he didn't win that one either. So what is number 1? Well, you'll know what number 1 is because I give you all the other 4, and there's only 5 Bray Wyatt matches at WrestleMania. So we'll quickly run through. Number 5 is The Fiend versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37. Number 4 is Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 33. Number 3 is The Fiend / Bray Wyatt versus John Cena in a 5-5 Funhouse match at WrestleMania 36. Number 2 is Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. So that means there can only be one number 1. Bray Wyatt versus John Cena at WrestleMania 30. So, it's very rare to say that a superstar's first WrestleMania match was their best, but this is definitely the case with Wyatt. This match outcome still gets brought up a lot to this day, with a lot of fans still being upset at the fact that Cena obviously went over and seemingly damaged Wyatt's character. The in-ring action between these two at this WrestleMania was by far the best out of his Mania outings. It was the age-old story of good versus evil, but without all the spooky style effects that would later be used in Wyatt's Mania matches, and the fans were definitely invested in this one from the start. There was great build up to this, and would have been a great payoff if Wyatt had won. Another great visual of this match, like in the previous one I mentioned before, Cena goes for his 5-star knuckle shuffle, and as he goes over Bray pops up with the spider walk, which obviously stuns Cena in his tracks. We got some good near falls in this match with both guys kicking out of the other one's finisher. Harper and Rowan were used well during the match, causing distractions at times, which would then help obviously the match go in the favour of Bray to gain the upper hand. In the end of the match, Wyatt brought a chair into the ring, sliding it in and over to Cena to try and get him to use the chair on him to gain a victory via disqualification. Cena used the chair on Rowan when he climbed up on the apron. Wyatt then getting the 2 counts off a distracted Cena, and he went to follow up with his sister Abigail, but Cena powered out, hit him with an AA, pinned him, and gave him his first loss on the main roster. That was his first time Bray Wyatt had lost. He was undefeated on the road to WrestleMania. So there you have it. His first WrestleMania match was his best by far, and like I say, fans still think Bray Wyatt should have won that. So let me know, as always, if you feel like there's a different rank for these 5. Like I say, there is only these 5 because it's the only 5 he had at WrestleMania. So let me know your order. Would you rank the 5-5 Funhouse at number 1? Do you think The Fiend versus Randy Orton actually isn't the worst match of Bray Wyatt's WrestleMania career? Let me know as well as, do you think Bray Wyatt should have been the one to defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania rather than it being Brock Lesnar? And like I say, do you think that Bray Wyatt should have actually beaten John Cena at WrestleMania 30? So let me know in the comments, as always, what you think. And basically, stay tuned for more wrestling related content coming your way very, very soon, especially as we move closer to WrestleMania season.